Hey guys, what's up? It's Jimmy, and welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Weird Facts and Trivia. Today we're going to be discussing the mysterious Pokemon Green, and talking a little bit about the localization of the first generation Pokemon games. Let's start where the series originated. A little company named Game Freak had been working for a number of years on two titles called Pocket Monsters Red and Green. The games hit store shelves in February of 1996 and would pave the way for a cash cow of a franchise that would continue on until present day. After Red and Green, Game Freak released an updated version of the games called Pocket Monsters Blue. It started as a limited release for subscribers of Koro Koro Comic and was sold to the public soon after. It came jam-packed with updated sprites, some music enchantments, and changes to where you can acquire certain Pokemon. As you can see here, many of the sprites in Red and Green were very ugly, so the updated sprites in Blue were definitely necessary, and even those weren't so great. Thankfully, in the later-to-be-released Pocket Monsters Pikachu Edition, or Yellow, you received yet another batch of sprites that would be very close to the official art for each Pokemon. At this point, Game Freak had brought Nintendo a lot of money. So naturally, they decided to expand the franchise overseas and plan to localize the Pocket Monster titles. However, the name was changed to Pokemon to avoid conflict with an already existing franchise of a similar name. Now something strange happened when the games were brought over to the West. There were only two of them, and they weren't called Pokemon Red and Green, they were called Pokemon Red and Blue. So what happened to Green version? Well, it's really quite simple. When crafting the localized versions, they took certain aspects of Red and Green, like what Pokemon you can get in the wild and from in-game trades, and then mixed them with certain aspects of Blue, such as the new sprites, updated game text, and dungeon layouts. So technically, we did get part of Green version just like Japan, it just wasn't called Green version. Now why they chose to name the localized games Pokemon Red and Blue and not Pokemon Red and Green is something I can't answer. I'm not Nintendo. My only real guess is that it all came down to marketing. No offense to Venusaur, I really like its design, but I don't see many kids choosing a stout dinosaur with a flower on its back over a turtle with cannons jetting out of its shoulders. But let's be honest though, most people probably went for Red version with Charizard anyway. Now because our Red and Blue are a mix of those three Japanese games, some things ended up being really weird. In the Japanese Red and Green, there's a man on Cinnabar Island who will trade you his Electrode for your Raichu. Now why you do this is beyond me, both Pokemon can easily be obtained in normal play, but they decided to put this trade in the game anyway. In the Japanese Blue version, the same man is there, but this time the trade is his Graveler for your Kadabra, which makes more sense because you can't get either evolved form of both Pokemon without trading. When the trade is completed, the man will say something along the lines of, "The Kadabra that you traded to me went and evolved." This again makes sense because Kadabra becomes Alakazam once it's traded. However, in our copies of the game, Red and Green were used as the base and Blue's in-game text and sprites were just pasted on top. Thus, the trade in the localized versions is once again Raichu for Electrode. And when the trade is done, the man will say, "The Raichu you traded to me went and evolved." This, of course, is not possible, and it's a pretty weird thing that they'd overlook. And I'm sure this ended up adding fuel to those ridiculous Peekaboo theories. But hey, now that Mega Evolutions are canon, maybe Raichu will get one, which would mean this man was telling the truth all along. Now for a few little facts that I found pretty interesting. Since we talked about localization in this episode, I thought I'd note that Splash, the move used by the incredibly pathetic Magikarp, is called Hop in Japan. This is why it's a normal type move, rather than a water type move. In the intro of the game, Professor Oak introduces us to a Pokemon. This Pokemon is Nidorino. However, there's something weird about the cry that plays. The cry actually belongs to Nidorina. And finally, in Red and Blue there's an error that exists where Charizard can't learn Fly. Thankfully, this was fixed in Pokemon Yellow version. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for being patient in the wait for this next episode. And don't worry, there's some more in the works right now, those will be up I don't know when, sometime soon, but don't worry, I'm working on stuff. And that being said, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time with more videos.